everybody, it's B from Kongs R Us, and happy Saturday. Thank you guys so much for joining. George, did you just call me a pinball lizard? Because that's what it looks like. So thank you guys for joining. So what I'm going to be doing today is I'm at the point pretty much of no return with my Star Wars pinball. If you saw my original kind of first thoughts video I did 2 weeks ago, I've had my Star Wars pinball for just almost 2 weeks now. And I had attempted to kind of convert it and do some modding with it because I knew I was always going to be unhappy with just the 10 stock games on it. And even my first reaction to playing the the cabinet versions of PinballFX3, because I played the PC versions on Steam. I've seen the quality of PinballFX3 and I love the games, but I was just unhappy myself with the gameplay look. But the cabinet itself is in terms of the value of getting everything put together, the artwork, getting all the hardware, the solenoids, the feedback to work is amazing for the price point. Like, the fact that they were able to get everything together and, for somebody who's a very casual VPin fan, but a Star Wars fan, this is perfect for them, right? So, if people have been waiting for my official review, it's pretty much the same stance. Like, I think this is a great entry level VPin cab for anybody who loves kind of just the basics for virtual pinball and likes Star Wars or Marvel or the original tables. If for fans of the original tables that are really more enthusiasts of like the Attack from Mars ones, that might be those hardcore folks that are familiar with those tables. I feel like they may be slightly disappointed with the quality of play on the Arcade1Up version of those tables. So that being said, I am going down a path where I am going to pretty much not gut everything, but pretty much run a PC version of Steam into my cabinet so that not only can I play the Star Wars tables, but all 99 of my Steam powered FX3 tables. And I'm doing this for a lot of space saving reasons. Like, I didn't have a virtual pinball cab before I got the Star Wars cab. I've been playing it on my PC. I've been playing it on my Star Wars cabinet as well. And so I know there's tons of tables that you can play, right? Virtual pinball, future pinball, visual pinball. You can have hundreds and hundreds of tables, but I've been a really big fan of the Zen Studios FX3 tables. And so I think having a single cabinet for just FX3 would be great, because then I also ordered the At Game Legends pinball. And so for that table, I'm going to be doing, all the classic arcades or all classic pinball tables on that cab. So that way I could really have themed arcade cabinets and VPin cabinets that won't compete with each other. Like, I wouldn't put the same VPin build on every single virtual pinball cabinet I have. I want them to be kind of, this is going to be my dedicated FX3 setup. And so that's the plan for today. Thanks everybody for joining in. So Brian's here, Adam's here, John's here. So I appreciate you guys checking it out. So here's what we're going to do today. So I have some of the stock things here. I've already kind of started prepping and taking some things out. So if you look down here on my other camera, I have a couple of screens that I'm going to be replacing. I have my PC setup that I'm going to be installing into the cab itself. And hopefully by the end of this session, we'll at least be able to get, some of the Pinball FX3 tables, not only on the main screen, the back glass with a dynamic back glass, but the DMD setup too. And so on a future video, hopefully I've been diving deep into the world of virtual pinball, following a lot of major Frenchies videos, Terry Reds. Like, the virtual pinball community is like no joke. Like, I have mad respect for everybody that's dived into this hobby. But the thing that I've noticed though is like there's kind of like two kind of levels and two extremes. There's those that like will build a cabinet with no toys, which means the force feedback, solenoid, surround sound feedback, and they just want the visuals of everything. And then if you want to add like the toys and the feedback and the LEDs, like there's huge range of things you can do with all the hardware and the setup. But I never saw like this in between version or tutorials of how to get like, right now the Arcade1Up has 4 force feedback solenoids. And so my goal will be to get just those 4 solenoids working with the Pinball FX3 cabinet, and potentially maybe some other ones too, because I know the board that I got to plug the solenoids into, it's called a Sane Smart board, has 8 relays, so I could hook up to 8 devices on there. So that's the goal. I'm trying to not go full out pinball with this cab. I still want to keep it budget as possible, but I don't want to I don't want to lose the force feedback feature. So on a future video, I'm going to try to get the solenoids back up and working. But for today, it's just about getting the PC in, the monitors, setting up the DMDs, and so we can see all the 99 tables that's on the Steam version of FX3 on this cab. So that's the goal. So hopefully you guys will enjoy. Nice, lots to learn. So if you're on this journey following along, I don't know if I can recommend this for other folks. This is just, me, my personal modding taste. Like, why people ask me all the time, why didn't I just build my own VCAP from scratch? A lot of it is that I hate to say it, but I'm kind of a lazy modder, if that's a good word for it. Is that like this is already 75 to 90% complete, and I'm just modding and adding extra components. I'm not building stuff from scratch. I don't have a lot of that woodworking skill, so that's why I prefer to like mod Arcade1Ups and existing things versus building from scratch. I don't have Bobby Vu's skills. I don't have To Die For's skills. But the first thing I'm doing is I'm actually taking out the stock monitor and replacing it with a different 24-inch monitor. So on my first video that I did, I tried plugging this stock monitor using one of those basic display adapters that you would on a typical Arcade1Up, right? Like one of these VS display adapters, and I could not get it to work. So I don't know if it's a bad board, if I kind of fried it already. I saw that cool toy Douglas already converted his board and was able to get it working with stuff. But I am admitting that I failed on getting the stock monitor to work with that board, and even like it was even hard for me to plug the stock PCB back into it. So I don't know if that monitor is dead, or if it's just the quality of the monitor isn't up to par with some of the other BOE monitors they have. But that monitor was kind of toast for me, so I kind of removed it completely. So what I did was I just got a 24. Whoops, sorry, my camera stuff is all over the place. I got another 24-inch. I think it's a Dell monitor. So it's a 24-inch 20. I think it's I don't even know the model number. It's like 24, like 19 or something like that for the Dell monitor. And I just decased it, and it pretty much fits exactly in the same space. It already has the DVI port out to it. So depending on if I don't really know if the stock one is going to be good enough for you to just put in one of those VS display adapters, which already costs 25 to 30 bucks, and I got this monitor for like $45. So I mean, for just the extra 15 to 20 bucks, if you search on Facebook Marketplace or OfferUp, I got a 24-inch Dell 1920 1080p monitor for like less than 50 bucks. And so for me, it was just worth it to replace it. I thought about actually even going bigger. I actually invested in a 27-inch monitor too. I'll show you guys here. So if you were thinking about getting a bigger size monitor, right? This is a 27-inch monitor that I was playing around with originally, and I thought I was gonna try to like drop it in, but you have to do a lot of modding to get the 27-inch to fit. So this is the stock 24-inch right here. So if I'm gonna take this out just so that you guys can see the difference, or I'll just lay it on top of here. This is the 27-inch here, and you can see it. You'd have to like not only cut this board, you'd have to remove this part right here. And then not only would you have to remove this part, so you'd have to remove this. Now this part won't fit anymore if you enlarge the screen. And then afterwards, the top glass and the what is it? I don't even know what this piece is called. Sorry, my setup's all over the place. This piece right here, like this little bezel right here that fits on top of it, like if you were going to put in a 27-inch or a 32-inch, you would lose reusing all of these parts on the cab. There's so much modding that would have to be done, and I was really considering it at first, and I was like, oh, I want to drop a bigger monitor into there, but then you lose all the prepackaged features of having it pretty much done. And so at that point, if I was going to make a monitor, then I think it's worth it to like build your own cab. But if you want to reuse everything that's in the Arcade1Up version, I think the 24-inch one is the way to go. Whether or not you can convert the stock monitor, that might just be your luck. I had terrible luck with it. So getting an upgraded monitor that I can plug in via DVI was much easier for me. All right, so that's in there. The next thing I did was, these are some of the other stock components that are inside of the cab right now. So just so that you guys can see the inside, I kind of unplugged all the different buttons into the PCB portion right here. And then this was the stock PCB that was in the back. We're pretty much removing this. A lot of the power source is going into this little guy right here. So removing this, you can see the power supply that comes in from the back. And then this is powering up all the solenoids. Pretty much the stock power is going into here. There's another wire for this power to go to the DMD. So this is pretty much the power supply of the board here. So I'm removing this. I was playing around with some of the solenoids, so I undid one of these solenoids here just to test it out. So I was able to get it working. You can repurpose these solenoids as well. So I'm going to be reusing these in a future video too. So today it's not about the toys, getting that set up, the force feedback. It's going to be about everything else. Okay. All right. Put this over to the side. All right, so the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to pull back now that everything is clear. The PC that I put together was able to fit in here just fine. There's a lot of space in here to fit this, but actually let's focus on the backglass. So you kind of saw in my original video, I put in a 22-inch AOC monitor and I decased it even further. And now it fits perfectly. So I'm going to show you guys what I did to put that in the backglass. But let me just check if there's any comments. All right, nice, lots to learn. Excited for this one. Mrs. Kong to Russ says, bigger is better. Will your plunger be able to work? Yeah, I would definitely be able to use the plunger using a GeekPi encoder, which uses the analog signal. All right, so let's start this off. I'm going to take off this side panel here. That was a lot of talking for an intro, so I'm going to try to talk while I mod now. So if you're considering modding the backglass, you could also you could put it together stock and enjoy it, and it's really easy to take this off afterwards. So I have the side panel that I'm taking off here. Oh, I forgot one more screw right here. All right, so here is the side screw. I'm going to be removing, I already took off the back plate just so that I don't need to. This piece right here, this is the LED board that's in the back. So normally this is kind of in the back part right here, and this is just sliding out. So right now I just have this top piece right here, and then this side, and I just removed this for right now, which is held onto the side with some pegs. I'm gonna put this to the side. This is my 22-inch AOC monitor that I used in my original video. So I decased it completely, and so this will actually fit perfectly now. Before I had it where this part wouldn't screw in completely, but if you can see now, I pretty much have it in the exact same spot where the plexiglass was, the plexiglass image, and it fits exactly now. And there's even a little wooden part on the back of this part right here. So this part will actually hold the back part in place. And then I'm going to friction fit it. I probably will find a way to secure it down and mount it even further. But installing this monitor was exactly perfect. It actually fits the exact specs of a 22-inch monitor. So I was excited that I didn't have to do any modding. Look at this. Look how fit this line is. All I have to do is with this little metal plate right here is get some maybe silver tape and then cover this bottom part so it matches, or maybe black tape. And that's it. I'm just gonna screw my screws back in, and then I have the monitor pretty much almost secure. I definitely will find a way to mount it down a little bit more. So let's make sure that I line up everything and screw it back in. All right, so here's the top one. Yeah, in my original video, I still had the outer casing on the monitor, so I couldn't secure this down completely. But now I can, and it fits perfectly. I'm really excited about this monitor. I'll share the specs of it a little bit later on, just so you guys can see it. But I'm really confident these monitors. I think they're 21.5 diagonally, but will fit perfectly if you want a dynamic backglass into your monitor. So now we have all 4 of those, and you can see that it's pretty snug in there right now. If I'm moving it around, it's not gonna move unless I'm tilting it all the way forward. I feel like it's already pretty secure. I'll just find a way to kind of secure it more in the back, but otherwise that's pretty much it. So now I have this here. I have the DMD, which the stock DMD is just an LCD screen with a 12-volt adapter and an HDMI out. So that's just a regular monitor you're gonna plug in, and so the PC has 3 ports that we're going to plug into. So that's the backglass, pretty simple. And now we're going to drop in the PC and start wiring everything up. See how it goes. So hopefully this will go pretty easy. Let's talk about the PC. as I'm putting it in. So this is, I'll kind of show you the guts of what I did with my PC. So for folks that may be a little bit shy about PC mods, like I feel like budget PCs are like my thing. So I find these budget PCs really cheap. This, I believe, is a Lenovo ThinkPad that I got for maybe 30, 40 bucks gutted. And it's an i5 4th generation. It only has 2 slots for RAM. So I have 8 gigabytes of RAM in here. I dropped in a GTX 1050, which I think will probably be the hardest thing to get nowadays. Is the graphics card shortage is real, guys. It's really hard to get graphics cards. So I've been loading up on graphics cards for some clients and things and builds myself. But I have a 1050 Ti in here. And then the only other things I have in here is just a solid state drive, I have an external hard drive, but I really don't need this extra space. If I'm running FX3, it doesn't take up that much space. I could probably get away with 120 or 240 gig SSD and not even worry about a secondary hard drive, but I just have it in here in case I need extra storage. And then in order to get everything to fit, like this PC, I pretty much just took off the front cover, and like you can decase it and get it cleaner and mount it into your board, but this will actually fit and just drop into here, and I will secure this down even further. But it was a perfect fit, and I was like, all right, I am gonna just get it working. And I know V-Pins, there's a lot of work to do to get it really nice and clean, but for now, like it fit in there perfectly. So I was like, all right, I'm just gonna leave this in here for now for all my testing to make sure everything works, and then I'll work on securing it down. I might decase it completely or just leave it in its case like that. It actually sits pretty well. And then I will just, make sure I mount this down into the board itself. But otherwise, I got my PC seated in there. I got my 2 monitors. I got the DMD. So now I'm just going to wire everything up to the PC. We're going to turn it on, test it out. And then the next thing I'm going to do is all of these wires. I'm going to plug these into what I use. I'm really obsessed with an encoder called the GeekPi encoder. So instead of a basic USB generic encoder, that can actually accept analog inputs as well. And so the Plunger uses an analog magnetic sensor. And so this is going to be able to register as a controller using the analog setting. So that's why I'm using the GeekPi instead of a generic USB encoder. So let's get everything wired up. Any other questions here? Did you already get the cabinet code from Zen? I did. So if I have the PC version of Steam, I got all the tables myself and then sent Zen a picture of this cabinet, and they sent me a cabinet code. So I do have the cabinet code from Zen to run official pinball from Steam on this build. I haven't gotten as far as running and setting up a really nice front end. I know you can use Pinup Popper as a really big, nice front end, but I've had my own Launchbox build, which I put together recently. And then I'm going to be diving into that more. So, all right, so in the back, I'll just move this camera to the back so you guys can see what I'm doing now. Let's see if we can follow along. We'll go to the back here. All right, let's go. Okay, all right. So here's the back of the cab itself. Right now, it's a big mess. I have a lot of stuff happening here, but I have several things I need to plug in now. So now I have the 3 screens and the PC that I need to plug in. So the PC itself is just a standard plug port, and then the as well as the 24-inch monitor uses the standard kind of AC adapter port. The top backglass, the AOC, and the smaller screen use like a 12-volt adapter DC connection, and so I'm gonna have to power those up separately. And then I will probably get a put a surge protector inside of here, and then get a inlet module switch coming out. But for now, I'm just going to test everything wired up into just a surge protector. So I'm going to go ahead and plug everything in. So this is going to be for my PC. Let's go ahead and plug in the PC over here. All right. So we got the PC plugged in. That's going to be there. All right, the next thing is the AOC plug, monitor plug, has its own power adapter. And so unfortunately, even though it's a 12-volt adapter, this plug, I tried to use a Y splitter to plug this and the DMD, but for some reason the Y splitter didn't fit the AOC plug. So I have to power them up separately for right now just to kind of test it out. But I will work on getting that cleaner. So I'm using another, I have my Marvel vs. Capcom plug. So I'm plugging this into the DMD right now too from behind. So let's see if I can move this back here so you guys can see what I'm doing. All right, here we go. So that's the back of the monitor you can see. And then so I have the 12-volt adapter plugged into the AOC monitor, and this is the back of the DMD. So I'm just plugging in another power source here. And sorry if you can't hear me because the microphone is pretty far away, so I'll try to speak up. And all right, so this is the HDMI coming out of the back. This is the sound, which will work because the HDMI is going into here. And then the last thing I need to do is just make sure I get some of these display adapter connections going. Okay, so this AOC monitor uses an HDMI out. So I have an HDMI out here. Okay, this is going to plug into the DVI slot on the back of my PC, which is down here. So I have access to my PC through this hole in the back as well. So we're going to put this here. And I never know if it's smart to do these live modding sessions because I never know if things are going to work. If anybody's ever modded before, you guys know that everything never goes perfect according to plan. But hopefully this will work without any issues, and we'll be able to do some testing. But it's all for entertainment, right, guys? Hopefully you guys are enjoying checking this out. Okay, so now that we have the top glass plugged in, we're going to plug in the DMD HDMI. Okay, so let's plug in the DMD HDMI. Okay, so we got this is the HDMI that's going out of the DMD, the dot matrix display. So that's going to be one input. Okay, and then the last one will be the connection from the 24-inch monitor. Where did that go? All right, so I'm back over here. So this is the 24-inch adapter, or the 24-inch monitor. It doesn't have an HDMI out, so I'm using a DVI to HDMI cable to plug into my graphics card. So your graphics card that you get has to have, if you're going to use a 3-monitor display, it has to have 3 out ports. So this one had the 1050 Ti low profile that I'm using has 2 HDMIs and then 1 DVI port. So that allows me to have 3 monitors set up. Okay. Let me make sure everything is plugged in. So I'm plugging in my monitor as well. All right. Please speak up when you go to the back of the machine. All right. Sorry, y'all. I'll try to point this this mic towards the back of the machine. All right. Seems like Zen will pretty much give their code for any modded cab except at games. Yeah, I'm not sure about kind of the reasoning for that, but as long as you show them a cabinet that you're building, and I'm running an official version of Steam, they should give it to you no problem. It took me like just a day for me to email them and get it back. All right, so this is plugged in. Let's make sure the HDMI is going to be plugged in. I'm going to walk to the back and plug in the HDMI. See if I can point my mic towards the back. All right. So I have the HDMI from the main screen that I'm plugging into the back now, into the PC. Okay. I think that's it. I think I plugged everything in that I need to. So let me double check the ports there. That's plugged in. That's plugged in. Kind of moving this towards the front again. So we're going to do a power on test now and make sure everything is working. Sorry for the audio, guys. I'm live modding isn't always best to make sure that we're set up accordingly. All right. So, okay, so the PC is plugged in. I got my 3 screens plugged in. Let's see if there's anything else. I think that's it. Let's go ahead and power everything on. And so I'm not going to worry about the buttons first for right now. I'm just going to control the game using a keyboard just for now and see how it goes. Okay, so let's drop this. Make sure nothing is touching the PC fans. So I'm just going to move my wires off to the side a little bit. So the PC, again, sits there. Again, I will probably secure everything down, but this is just kind of like a live modding, proof of concept testing. So you can see I have my 3 screens there. So let's boot her up. Let's test it out. All right, here we go. The moment of truth. All right, the PC fan's on. It's turning. Hopefully everything will be booting up in just a second. All right, can you guys see that? All right, cool. So we got the main glass just showing I need my PC PinballFX3. Boom, Windows is running. Okay, cool. So everything is working just fine. So I got all 3 screens set up, and it's gonna be hard because since I've ran out of display ports with all 3 screens, I can't use a capture card to show the screen. So I'm just gonna use my side monitor as much as I can and try to show you guys what's happening on the screen and see if we can capture enough of it. So the first thing you really have to do when you set up a multi-screen display using Pinball is to make sure your display settings are set up accordingly. So once you're in here, I did a lot of prep work before I even did the cabinet install, just trying to get some of the multiple screens working and with the PC setup. So this part, normally installing into the cabinet, is like the last thing you do, but I was excited to at least get this far and show you guys what I was doing. Okay, so from here, I'm gonna right click on my desktop and then go to display settings. And then I'll drag this down so you guys can see how I set up my display. I think it's gonna be hard for you guys to see it. Let me see if I can move this in closer. All right. All right, so you can kind of see that. I'm gonna make myself smaller and make this one bigger. Let's do this. All right, so you guys can see what's happening on the big screen. Okay, so on the main display, the way I have it set up right now is, if you guys can see this, I have 3 screens here. The way that it's being registered on my PC is the small DMD is screen number 1. The big portrait mode here is screen number 2, and then my backglass screen is number 3. So depending on your setup, this is going to change. This is why there's no standard setup for VPin that tells you exactly what to do. So as long as you have your main setup as the portrait mode, so if you click on it, you can see it's in portrait mode. The backglass is here, and I have the DMD under. So this is what's going to allow you to position the backglass in FX3 and other places, just working out fine. So I'm not going to go into super big detail of what I did to get the backglass working, but in a nutshell, I followed Major Frenchie, Terry Red's, DDH69's tutorials on setting up animated backglass in FX3. And so I have I set up Steam. So if you're looking on this main monitor here, I set up Steam with if I just run Steam and PinballFX3, I have all the games I purchased. So I have all 99 tables that I purchased and running an official Steam version of this account. And then I had to set up a couple of different things to get the monitor and backglass working once I got cabinet mode set up. So let's go ahead and show you guys what I did with the animated backglass. And this is a super rough rundown. So to get it working, you have to run something called DOF, which is Direct Output Framework. From there, you need to get something called DOFLinx. And then that actually is a program that connects to something called a B2S backglass, which is inside Visual Pinball. I mean, I can't explain this. This was so complicated even for me. I was tearing my brains out. But once I got the animated backglass to connect to it, you just download the tables from, I think it's Meme in a Box's site. And then I was able to finally kind of get it showing on the screen. An animated backglass is nice because the backglass will light up instead of just having a static picture. But that's pretty much how I have it set up. I may do a full tutorial on it later on. But again, once I nail down the basics of the simple FX3 cab with a little bit of toys, I may dive into that, because every tutorial I've seen is all or nothing. And so I'm scratching the surface on doing this as well. So I got animated backglasses to work. Let's go ahead and launch PinballFX3 and just make sure it's running on all the different backglass things. All right. So I have FX3 running down here on my main screen. And then I'll show you what I did to set up the backglass and the portrait mode. Oh, I don't think I ran DOFLinx, so that's why the backglass is still in showing the backglass. But you can hear the sound. Can you guys hear the sound? So all I did was I'm using the stock speakers, and they rock. So I mean, they're really loud, so it's pretty cool. So I'm running FX3 right now, and I'm just using the FX3 interface.
My collection.
So you can see I have all the tables on here as well. But let's go back. Actually, let's go into cabinet mode. I'm gonna go into cabinet mode and show you. So in cabinet mode, there's when you set this up, there's a lot of these positional things that you need to do to set up what area your backglass is in. And so the DMD is this dot matrixing positioning. So if I turn it off, then the my DMD turns off. So this is pretty much turning on my dot matrix display. And the way that I had it set up in Windows, this was the size of the actual screen. 800 by 300 is 370 is the resolution. And then I had to move the position off to the side 1500 but 60 by 1135. This took time to set up, and I don't know if it's going to be standard for other people, but I'll take pictures and show you guys what I did here. And then the monitor backglass, if you turn it on, the back will turn on and show a static image if you have a JPEG of it in the system. So actually, I'm going to show a sample of that because that was really hard for me to figure out too. So I know this is hard to see without the I want to see if I can do a better top-down version of what I'm looking at. So let's go to downloads, open new window. So I got all of the, if you're doing a 2-screen version of FX3, you can just drop all the JPEGs into the Steam folder for all the files, and it will pull up the images on the backglass. So I just learned that if you turn it off and run the DOFLinx program, that's how you get the animated backglass to work. But I want to show you guys how to get just the plain backglass image on the background as well. So we're going to go to Steam Apps, Common, PinballFX3 data. So this is where all my tables are located at. So this is really hard to see. I know this is terrible, guys, because I can't screen capture this. So I have all of my tables inside my Steam folder. And then there is a program, or you can just even download it. It's a FX3 kind of backgrounds, FX3 box. And so I'm just going to drop all of these JPEGs of the backglass into the same folder where the data files are for the tables. Okay, so once I do that, I will show you guys two things. So I'm going to go back to direct output, turn on my DOFLinx, and then show you guys the difference between having a static backglass and then an animated backglass in PinballFX3. So here we go. All right. So now you guys see I have a DOFLinx animated backglass on right now. And so this is running the B2S Backglass app that DDH69 and Major French and all those guys put together. And so when I go from table to table, my collection, the back screen will change to the table itself. So I haven't really gotten to the point where the transitions are really clean, but at least I got this backglass working. The other cool thing is if I go back to cabinet mode, if I turn on the backglass positioning, it's gonna show the JPEG images that I have instead. So if I'm here, it'll just show the backglass of the static images. So there's two ways to have backglass images on here. Is either a static picture, which is kind of the easiest way, where you just drag and drop it into the folder, or there's like a lot of things you have to do to get animated backglass working in the cabinet as well. All right, so in order to get the animated backglass back working, I'm gonna turn off the backglass positioning. All right, and let's test the table. My collection. Let's run a table. How about Back to the Future? We're running Back to the Future. Single player and hot seat. Boom. I'm gonna start a new game. So yeah, I'm running a legit version of Steam right now. So again, I set up the DMD display positioning. I had the animated backglass, and right now I'm just testing playing the game using my keyboard. The next step, which I'll do now, is gonna get the controller buttons plugged into an encoder into my PC, and then map those buttons to the game too, so I can actually use the flippers. But let's just make sure this works. Oh man, okay. I'm gonna turn off this. All right, so you guys can kind of see we got animated backglass going on.
The destination time, 1955.
All right.
If you're gonna shoot the ball, why not do it with some skill?
All right, so we're going to play Back to the Future Pinball. as I'm playing the game, I'll turn down the value on the. All right, I don't know if you guys can see it, but as I'm clicking the flippers, the lights on the backglass, like there's certain things in the backglass that are actually lighting up based on what happens on the table. So they did a fantastic job of like programming some of the backglass tool. So this is kind of what I wanted. I wanted a dedicated full FX3 table to be able to run a backglass using the animated glass, the DMD setup, and then the next step will be getting the controllers to work, and then the final step will be getting the basic toys to run. So I'm playing just using my keyboard right now. So the basic controls are just your flipper and enter button. That's it. Simple. If I wanted to go really, really deep, I could try to use the Pinscape and controller board, which has a built-in accelerometer for nudge. But what I'll do is I'll end up drilling 2 more buttons on the side so I can have nudge control just by buttons. I don't need to have it like 100%. I'm not going 100% full balls to the walls with this pinball cab. I just wanted a nice, this already has Zen Studios on it, a dedicated FX3 cab running all the official versions of the games on here. So this is cool. Everything is running. I also will have to come up with a front end to run all this. But this is pretty much it. I have now, if I escape, I can navigate obviously using the computer to go through all my tables. And so these are all my PinballFX3 tables that I have on here. I have all the Marvel cabs, but I purchased an official version of all these games because I wanted to run it officially on here. So, regularly recommend that you guys would do that and consider it. I think it's worth it. So if you're talking about how much money I've put into this, in addition to buying the cab itself, again, the cab we already know is about $500, $550. The PC, parts alone of what I paid for it, you might find this range a little bit different, but I paid $40 for the base PC, about $20 for the RAM, so that's $60, and then $150 for the graphics card. When I bought it, the last time I bought it, like when it was retail before it got crazy. So probably put about maybe $240 into the PC itself. So and then the monitor on the back glass was $40. Maybe the 2 monitors themselves, let's call it $100. So I'm already upwards of about $800 total into this mod. Was that about right? So about $850. And then on top of that, I bought the Steam games, which is about another, I think all the games, if you buy them in a pack from Steam, it's about $150 for every single game on here. But I thought it was worth it just because the quality of the PC games, we know that are just going to really make that experience better. So let's call it, I put about $1,000 into this. So this is like my souped up version of a PinballFX3 cab. My son back here. And was it worth it to do all this upgrading to run a dedicated FX3 cab? Like I wanted all the games to play on a single cab. So for me, like I barely did any work. You guys saw in like 30-40 minutes, I dropped 2 screens in here, put a PC in here, and I'm able to run everything instead of just the stock 10 games, which I think are just lower quality versions of it. If you don't have the desire to do the modding of it, that's perfectly fine. I think people will be happy with the $600, but adding another $400 to get everything, right? All 99 tables and everything, like for me, it was worth it. So I didn't have to build it from the ground up. I didn't have to buy the legs, do the graphics and anything. I just did some of the software side of it. So, my investment of an extra $400 into the cab to run every single version of FX3 on here was absolutely worth it for me. So I'm trying to justify it in my head, but I think that's, for me, it's better than buying multiple pinball cabs with 10 games at a time and, trying to invest it that way. Plus I get all the games in the quality of the graphics that I want. And I don't have to kind of look at them and say, hey, there's better versions of these FX3 games on other places that I can play. And you could do this a lot of different ways, right? I know some folks are going to be thinking about putting their Switch in here so that you can just have a portable version of the games on your Switch, drop it in. So you don't have to go full PC either. The good thing about FX3 is that there's so many versions of the game on how you can play it, right? So if you already have the games purchased in different ways, drop it in and plug it into a screen. And I think the Switch mod might be a really good way to go too, because that way you can just have it portable, drop it in, and then take it out. So I don't know if the controllers are going to work that way. But that's my justification for setting everything up the way that I have it. Let me just take a quick look at chat to see if there's any questions. All right. Visual pinball is more realistic than FX3. Correct. I mean, so I will be getting it at games, Legends pinball, and I for the standard traditional pin cabs, right? I probably will be doing a separate build just for those because I really wanted this to be a dedicated FX3 cab. So there's a lot of great graphics and things that people like with FX3. So that's the purpose of this. Not required makes it easier if you're going to use multiple V pins. Oh, front end, is it required if you're only going to use FX3? It's not required. It's just going to make it look a lot cleaner. I'll show you guys a version of a front end that I have right now. So I'm going to exit this game so you guys can see. It's my version of my BigBox build where I created a custom playlist of all the tables. But right, it's not optimized for this portrait mode. So it's going to look really, really funky. But I'll show you guys it anyway so you guys can see the front end that I have in BigBox. I was thinking about making my own front end, like a theme in BigBox where I can get it working. But all right, so now the DMD the DMD is showing as my main screen, and this bottom one is showing as my marquee screen. So it's really funny. So let me go into BigBox menu and change the options so I can at least get something on my big screen. All right, we're gonna go to options.
Should I read the comments?
What's that?
Should I read the comments?
Sure. All right, general. I'm gonna change my primary screen. I'm gonna change my primary screen to the back screen so that you guys can see that. And I'm gonna make my marquee screen. No, I had to make the primary screen this one. Okay, so that's my primary screen. And the marquee screen, I'm gonna make that one right there. So my DMD screen is gonna be nothing right now. So this is my primary screen. All right, here we go. All right, so I have all the different versions of FX3 in a playlist. I have all the Marvel cabs put together, the Bally cabs put together. Oh, you can see the marquee and the Backglass. So again, it's not the best, but I have all the Marvel cabs together. So let's go into the Marvel playlist, for example. I go into the Marvel cab, and you can see I have a setup where it's just my version of Launchbox where I have the clear images of everything and then some Backglass. It's not optimized for this setup. I can probably do a much better job of this, but it's a start, guys. Like, you know, and this was way easier for me to do than doing Pinup Popper. I think Pinup Popper, I think, is the best front end that people have seen. So I might go down this path, but I think it looks pretty good. If I just optimize this setup for the, you know, this monitor resolution and flip it, I think I could make a pretty decent looking front end with Launchbox. I mean, look, it already has the marquee images in the back, and I think it looks pretty decent. And then only thing I have to again look at is just do this and then change it to the screen. So I might do that. I might just forget doing all the other official emulators or like front ends and just make my own. I think I'm already almost there. I just need to resize all this stuff to make it look efficient. But if I want to, let's go into a Bally Williams table. So from here, we'll do Medieval Badness. So from here in Launchbox, it's really easy to just point the game to the file, and then it's going to launch the official version of Steam. So you can see the little Steam app thing popping up there, and it's just going to launch straight to the table for me. Yeah. Boom. But now my display is all off though. So this is really weird. Do you guys see that? So now I don't know if Launchbox messed up my DMD display setup, because maybe it's launching like a different version of what I have set up right now. I think it is. I think it's not running like because I was playing around with a different build, but you can see if you don't have your monitor Backglass everything set up, everything looks funky. So I didn't say it was gonna be perfect, guys. Let's exit to single player. Let's get out of here. All right. So I'm going to exit out of BigBox right now just to show you. I mean, that's my version of a front end to launch the games, which I'll eventually get to. All right. See if there's any questions in here. All right. Does Zen give you a cabinet code to be able to do this from the PC? Yes. So all you got to do is take a picture of your cab and send it to them, and they'll send you a code. I send them a picture of this exact cab, and they sent me a code easily. People are going to be putting in their own PCs in these games and machines before Arcade1Up even makes another wave. True. Can you link lists with the parts that I used, please? I think eventually, once I nail down kind of what I did, I don't know if this is repeatable enough to do it. Like, I think with modding, you guys are watching me mod live and talk through it. But I mean, this was a process. This was not just me doing this today. I spent pretty much all week trying to get my PC up and running and all the parts and finding stuff. I actually just today, this morning, picked up this 24-inch monitor because I was searching on Marketplace and I was like, yesterday I was almost committed to using the 27-inch and I was like, it's gonna be so much work. So this morning I went out and then bought this 50-inch or this 24-inch monitor because I couldn't get the stock one working. But if I do get it to a place where I feel comfortable enough that it's repeatable, I will do a tutorial on this too. But I just wanted to show what was possible. It's more like proof of concept setup. I can't wait. Oh, shoot. Camera, live modding accident. Sorry, camera. Sorry, PTZ camera. I can't wait to see what Cooltoy did with his. I saw that he already had Medieval Badness and stuff going, and he used the stock stuff. I'm really curious if he got the toys working, if he's gonna install like a monitor Backglass. So I love seeing what other modders are doing so that we can get inspiration from each other. So I'm really excited for that. All right, so here's the next part that we're gonna do, and hopefully in the next 20 minutes or so. So I have this GeekPi encoder, and the reason why I'm using this is not only can it accept regular digital button signals, this middle section can accept analog signals. And so the plunger is an analog magnetic sensor. So this plunger here, let me get rid of this here. So this plunger, the way that it works, it's an analog sensor. This is a giant magnet. So when you pull back, the magnet pulls back, and then the sensor is reading the analog signal. And this is the 3-wire kind of connection that you would need as a basic potentiometer. So it's like it's a magnetic potentiometer, digital one, so I don't even know what to call it, but it's a magnetic sensor. It's not using a regular pot. And then all the other buttons are fine. I think this is the accelerometer for the nudge here. So this is just plugged in. We're not going to reuse this. And then the rest of the buttons are just your standard Arcade1Up buttons. They're going to plug into 2 different slots. So I'm just going to plug everything into this, plug it into the PC, wire it up, run a basic JoyToKey program so that I can get the buttons working. And then we'll call it a day. That's it. That's the last thing we're going to do. Oh, maybe I'll drop the top part of the glass frame so you can see it dropping back in. Okay, so I'm going to plug in the right flipper into this encoder, into button number 1. I'm going to plug in this left one into button number 2. I'm going to make these bottom 2 buttons right now my nudge buttons. So I'm going to plug them into 3 and 4. So these white buttons on the bottom, I'm just plugging them into 3 and 4 here. And then this the volume switch also has like this little 3-pin JC connector. I'm going to plug it into one of these slots. I might have to flip the pins around, but I should be able to reuse the volume switch and then map that to actually control the volume on my PC eventually too. So I'm going to just plug it in and see if it actually works. And then the pot, this is the pot that I'm going to plug into the analog settings. And I tested it earlier and it works. So I'm just going to show you guys how I did. I did have to flip them like one of the pins though. So again, once I nail this down and get it pat, I will do a tutorial on setting this up so you guys can see how I did it. All right, so that's plugged in. Where is my USB cable? USB cable. Micro USB cable. There it is. Nope. Where's the micro USB cable for the thing? All right, here it is. All right, micro USB cable. So this is how this connects into the PC. All right. All right, and this is going to plug into the PC here. And then I should have working buttons. So I did a tutorial on the GeekPi, so it needs to be set into mode 2 with this green light on in order for the analog settings to work. All right, so let's drop this back down. I need to grab a hard drive really fast so I can get my JoyToKey settings. So be back in 30 seconds. All right, so I'm going to use a program called JoyToKey to map my buttons to keyboard commands, and then we're going to plug that into, we're going to get PinballFX3 working using the buttons. So that's essentially what I'll be doing right now. So I'm going to plug in a hard drive because I have a predefined JoyToKey profile that I've set up in the past that I'm going to try to use. Okay, so let's see here. Elements. That is not the right one. Okay. Let's undo this one. All right. See if there's any other questions. I'm so excited for Cool Toys video as well. Yep, I'm really excited. Will the haptics work, Skylar K? Not yet. That's gonna be my next goal. I already got a lot of the supplies and tests working for the solenoid. So my next step will be to get the actual haptics working with FX3. But it's so complicated to get basic toys working with the FX3. Like you have to download like everything: Visual Pinball, Future Pinball, DOFLinx, DOF. It takes like a village for all the knowledge to get haptics working. And so you could just go the route where it's surround sound feedback. Like Retro Ralph did a really good video on what he called like poor man's feedback, where he just like set up the solenoids, or like not solenoids, exciters and bass shakers into the cab. And I think that's probably a really good option too, instead of trying to get these stock ones going. But like there was 4 solenoids that Arcade1Up came with already. And so I want to reuse the stock stuff as much as I can. So I'm going to go down the path of really learning how to get these 4 working again, and maybe add in some more stuff too. Maybe upgrade my speakers as well. But I will be working on getting haptics in here too. Sorry, I'm trying to remember what I'm doing. Okay, so I'm double checking this. Okay. Is this the right one? No, this is not the right one either. GTX, GeForce Fibers. Dang, okay, this is the wrong hard drive. Sorry, I need to look for a specific hard drive that has my JoyToKey profile, so I'm not sitting here doing a profile for you guys. All right, hold on 1 second. Be right back. I found it. So many hard drives. Okay. Here it is. Bum, bada, bum. Once I got everything like dropped in here, I was just excited to see the Backglass and everything working. Like this is my first time doing virtual pinball on a cabinet, and it's a journey, guys. I mean, anybody who's done this knows. Anybody who's ventured into the world of pinball, virtual pinball, knows how deep it is. It is not plug and play like everybody says. I was in over my head. But okay, so I'm gonna run a version of JoyToKey right now. Okay, so this is my JoyToKey program. Okay, so I'm going to double check PinballFX. Okay, so I don't know if you guys can see this. Oh, hello. This is Kongzarus is here. Okay, all right, so you guys, I don't know if you, I'll try to drag this here so you guys can see it. Okay, so this is JoyToKey. So what I'm doing is, this is so hard, super hard to see. Oh, I need to plug in something really fast. Battery's running low. Why is this not plugged in? 1, 2, 3. Oh, there. All right, sorry, my PC was almost doubting that. Okay, so this is JoyToKey. So when I press the right flipper now, it's registering as button 1, which is right shift, and left shift is the button for the left flipper. And then I have this is kind of nudge. This is the bottom nudge here. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to set the pot. What range is this setting at that? Oh, it's not registering as anything on here. I might need to plug this into a different one. So just so that you can see how the GeekPi controller is set up. So the GeekPi controller right now is registering the plunger as this little thing here. So you guys can see that little thing that's moving on the screen. That's the plunger range right now. It's an x-axis rotation, but it's actually not working with anything. So I'm going to plug that into one of the other ones. Maybe just like the y-axis up and down. Okay, so let's replug this into Y. Okay. All right, let's do that. So now this is plugging into this. Okay, and it's going reverse. Okay, so let's see what that registers off here. Oh, so like if I do nothing and that's the space. wonder how I can make it so that it doesn't register. Oh, it's moving it back to center. Okay. Interesting. Okay, I'm trying to see how I can get it like centered and then moving. So let's go to settings and calibrate this. Okay. Okay. Okay, apply. Okay, so now let's see what's happening. Okay, now it's registering it until I hit it. I might have to play around with the joystick settings because the analog settings are registering as soon as it's already I don't know if you guys can see it. It's already yellow right here. So I have to do it where like I pull back and then it's hitting it. So I guess that's how you kind of want it. Like you want it here and then you want it to register when you pull back and hit it. So I had to figure out the analog settings, guys. This is another part that I've not done just yet. So forgive me for not figuring this part out just yet. Space and down, enter. Let's see if that'll work just as is. Okay, enter. Enter. Okay. All right, let's try it out and run the game again. See if I can get this working with the basic stuff. Did he say, I'll do this once she gets bored with the 10 tables. Just do it. More tables and better resolution. I think this is true. Like, you know, this is the biggest reason why I wanted to do it. I just was so unsatisfied with the 10 tables and the current resolution for everything. But I think I should be able to play using the buttons now. Let's test it out. Let's do it out. Let's run PinballFX3. I'm not going to run it through BigBox right now. I'm just going to run it right now in my setup. Okay, so let's see if I can get this set up so you guys can see me kind of pressing the buttons, seeing the backglass and everything. This is all right. Here we go. I did replace all the monitors, Brad, just because I couldn't get the stock monitor working. All right, so I pressed this button. Oh, so I gotta figure out a way to add a controller. So I probably will build in an extra controller on here so that I can like navigate the menus without having to use my keyboard. But we're just going to play. Look, I'm using my flippers. Boom. And again, I don't have buttons on the side for nudge or like it's not, but I have these buttons on the bottom right here that are my nudge and tilt right now. But I have a dynamic backglass going on. I have the D&D setup. Have the 24-inch playfield. Let's put it back on. Let's see what it looks like. Like you guys can see this. So look, now the stock one fits back on perfectly. I can put this little thing back on right here too. Where's my glass? Here we go. The glass is back on. Look. Now you guys can't see the game at all because I had the glass back on. But I have the glass back on. I could put these guys back on. I'm done, guys. We did it. We have a dedicated FX3 pinball cabinet. But look, I'm going to mod this too. I'm going to put like either a joystick here and some buttons so I can at least navigate the menu more. So I haven't decided what type of button things I'll put in here, but this was what I wanted to do. I wanted to have a full-on dedicated FX3 pin cab running all the FX3 tables. And yeah, the next step beyond this, like I'll be happy playing the games like this for now until I can get the haptic feedback. And like I think haptic feedback is awesome, but now that I can play all these games with a dynamic backglass, have really awesome, you know, like really full resolution games in here, I'm a happy camper. So I mean, it took me 2 weeks to kind of figure out what I wanted to do. I didn't want to do a full pin cab with everything in it there because like 100 tables is already a lot to go through. Even if you just did PinballFX3 alone, the library is fantastic. So I love PinballFX3 and all the stuff that they did. But this is pretty much it. We did it, guys. Let me check the questions if there's any other things, but that's pretty much it for this mod. We were successful. We put all of PinballFX3 into here without any toys. So that'll be a future video once I figure that out. But let me double check it out. So great work, good stuff, B. So all new monitors. Yes. I'll do this once she gets bored. Are there any other last minute questions? Any requests that you guys would like to see? I've been at this for about an hour. Somebody says, can you emulate a 360 controller with the GeekPi that supports 360 out of the box? I've not tested it as an X input controller. I don't think GeekPi has X input. I think it's a direct input controller. So I don't think it's an X input controller that would work with 360, but I don't know. I haven't tested it, so I'm not quite sure. It might be able to, but I'm not sure. How come you can't get haptic feedbacks to work? Because it takes a lot to work. So I'll show you guys all the stuff that it takes to get the haptic feedback working. All right. This was my. I'll show you guys over here. This is my test rig. Let me show you guys over here. Okay, so this is my test rig to get the haptic feedbacks working. The way that a solenoid works, this is the solenoid that's inside the Arcade1Up. It's essentially just like the solenoid that's hitting the rocker, and there's a positive and a negative here. And this needs to go into like something called a relay board. So this is a SameSmart relay that's going to plug into your PC, and then you have to program a pre-C program that's going to understand when you press the flippers, it's going to turn the relay on to turn the solenoid on. So it's not as easy and plug and play where you just plug it in. Like Arcade1Up and Zen did a fantastic job getting basic solenoids to work with the stock stuff. They were genius doing it. Like I give them mad props for getting the force feedback in the way they did, because getting it to work manually is a big pain in the butt. So I mean, it's going to take a lot to get it working. But I have some of the tools and the pieces, and I've been playing around with it. But that'll be my next goal, is to get the haptics working. DMD, I'm using the stock DMD. So this is just the stock HDMI DMD that came with the Arcade1Up. It just plugs in with a 12-volt adapter, and it already has HDMI out. And it's just a regular screen. I think the resolution on the DMD is like 800 by 480. So it's a 480p screen. So it's not 720 or anything. But for a DMD, you don't need it. You just need that low resolution screen. Have you tried plugging in the tilt board into the encoder? I have not. Like that little accelerometer on the bottom, the tilt board, I don't know what would happen if I plugged it into the encoder. So I will definitely play without. I mean, I could try it right now. I don't think it's going to do anything. I have no idea how the tilt board or the accelerometer works. Like, I don't know if I plug it in, if it'll like register as a controller input when I try to move it. Like, I don't know. Maybe I'll try it out right now. See how it goes. Putting in nudge buttons in the future. Yes, I will be drilling in 2 more buttons onto the sides and just adding in nudge buttons to make it easier. That's really easy to do. No problem. All right. Thanks, B. Still a fan. Love your stuff. Thank you guys. Thanks, Kian, for joining. Can you figure out a way to change to what? What am I changing to? All right. Any other? Let me, while you're going back into that, I'm so excited that I got all of my FX3 stuff working on here. So I've been without anything in my cab for the last 2 weeks, but I've boarded all of my Arcade1Up warranty stuff already, so I don't expect to go back to stock. I have the stock stuff on the side, but I don't know if I would use it in anything. Maybe what I'll do is if I can get a Geek Worm to work or something with it and do it into a smaller like miniature pin cab, I might do like the what's it called, that Arcade1Up mod, the leftover parts cab. Maybe I can do a leftover parts cab with the stock stuff and not have it be a complete waste. But I'm definitely satisfied with having a dedicated FX3 pin cab. All right, this has been an amazing video. It says, can you figure out a way to change the top screen to match the game? Yeah, the Backglass matches the game, Billy. So once I had the DMD set up, so once I'm gonna exit to single player, so you guys can see it. So when I switch to a different game, the Backglass changes to that game too. So I have it's a dynamic Backglass, guys. I mean, check it out. So when I change it to a game, it's not a smooth transition, but every single game has its own thing. Like, look, let's run Jurassic World. So now I have the Tyrannosaurus in the back. So it's a dynamic Backglass, guys. Like, it's perfect. Look, the T-Rex lights up. I'll play a little bit so you guys can see it. I think it's gonna, like, you can see it. The lights on the car are lighting up on the back, and as I do certain things, I think like the T-Rex might light up or something else too. The DMD is working. The 24-inch screen doesn't bother me at all. It feels really good. I gotta play with the buttons because like the launch button is just like launching no matter what I do. So I might I might just change the plunger to a regular button. I don't know. I have to play around with the settings more on the analog feedback. But yeah, I have dynamic backglass. This is fun. I can't believe I finished it. I got it decent looking enough where I can play it. This is cool. So yeah, I have an animated backglass. Everything works. The original tilt nudge board plugged into the original the original nudge tilt board plugged into the original coder board, but I don't know how it works though. So it's a different output button than like your like I think it has to have like power in addition to an input. So we'll see how that works. Make a leftover parts cab, doing it like a vertical. Oh, I'm making a vertical pincade. That might be smart. If I can get it working, doing like a mini vertical one, I think that would be fun to do like a leftover parts cab with the stock ports. If I can do that, so like that I would be satisfied with. Like, you know, the stock Arcade1Up like interface looked good. The gameplay just on a 24-inch screen, it looked better on my phone than it did on a 24-inch play screen because it was running an Android port version of it. So I mean, you guys may have seen, like, I was just really unsatisfied with the quality of the graphics on the cab itself. So, but on a smaller screen, like a vertical cab version of it, or even just like a handheld version of it, who knows? That might be really cool to do too. But yeah, land the ball inside the nest. Boom. But yeah, that's everything else. All right, guys, that's going to be it for this video. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you guys are like the video, the content, consider subscribing if you haven't already. I appreciate you guys, and we'll take it to the next level. See you guys next time. Bye. Have a great weekend, everybody. Oh, I forgot.